like we are going to be talking about the beef paprikash with fire roasted tomatoes. Paprika is made up of ground bell peppers in its most basic form. Many believe the origins of paprika was to be within Hungary as salt and paprika, which is a more common combination than salt and pepper, which is a little surprising. Hungarian paprika, which differs from traditional paprika, as it isn't always so sweet, and it is like as the standard variety and often has a very strong flavor. First, its name was Pepri or Pipri of Greek origin. I'm sorry if I butchered it. Then Hungarians used the Slavic papr, and the name paprika was only coined in Hungary, in 1724. The origins of paprika in Hungary was commonly used as medications rather than flavoring at first. The paprika plant loves heat. It loves to grow in heat. So the best quality peppers in Hungary were grown in the Great Plains, especially in Szeged and Kalocsa. I butchered those as well. Please do not mind it. Alright. Paprika became Jews' favorite Hungarian spice. Yes, it is a common denominator, but the ingredient is unequivocally signaled as a dish's Hungarianness, even while still adhering to the Jewish law. The country's wealthier class did not largely accept or use paprika until the 19th century, which is a little surprising to me, since it is commonly used so much now in the world. This plant was popularized as decor before it even was considered to be used in various cuisines throughout Europe and throughout the rest of the world. By the 17th century, the Capsicum annuum plant was being cultivated and to treat the typhus epidemic, and by the 18th century, paprika was being introduced as a spice to various countries through trade by the Turkish. Alright, for nutrient composition, the reason why it says meal is because I decided to do nutrient composition between the meal and then a nutrient composition between just paprika. So for 1 cup of the stew with 3/4 cups of cooked noodles, it was 534 calories, 200 grams, not 200, 21 grams of fat with 8 grams of saturated fat, 133 milligrams of cholesterol, 953 milligrams of sodium, which I don't know why, with milligrams it seems like so much, 51 grams of carbohydrates, 5 grams sugars, 4 grams fibers, 33 grams of protein. Now for paprika, in 1 teaspoon of paprika, it is 6.49 calories with 0.3 grams of protein, 1.2 grams of carbohydrates, 0.8 grams of fiber, 0.3 grams of fat, and 0.2 grams of sugar. Now, preventing or causing diseases. Excuse me. So, take a step back. Paprika comes in 3 different flavors: sweet, smoked, spicy. So you get to choose. But it is loaded with antioxidants and beta-carotene. The use of paprika can help regulate your sleep disorder or your sleep schedule if it is really, really bad, like mine is. Treat wounds, spider veins, and helps your eyes. Helps with digestion, decreases risk of heart attacks, reduces inflammation, improves cholesterol levels, helps with cancer, it controls blood sugar, and also helps maintain healthy red blood cells, which is really good. Paprika is loaded with nutrients like calcium, prosperity, potassium, which helps with strong muscles, bones, and teeth. It also has vitamin A, vitamin B6, vitamin E, vitamin K, folate, choline, and niacin. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but it's on there. Sorry, I butchered it too. I think. Alright, for fresh and high quality. Shelf life for paprika when it is grounded or dried is 2 to 3 years. A whole paprika, or like whole paprika, can last from 4 to 5 years. The way to tell if paprika is good. Collect a sample of the paprika you wish to test. Once you have it, like in your hands, rub or crush a small amount of it. Smell it. If the aroma is very weak, the paprika should be replaced. If it is very strong, keep using it till your heart's content. Agriculture information. Paprika is basically a ground red pepper. Red peppers were originally from Mid and South America. Due to their popularity, they were eaten all over the world, including India, Pakistan, China, Mediterranean, Mexico, and so many other places. Approximately 15 to 20% of the paprika production in southern New Mexico and surrounding areas goes into aliricin production. I think that's how you pronounce that, which is basically the pigments that are extracted and used as a natural red colorant. The pungency level of New Mex garnet was 157 Scoville heat units, or SHU, which is below the maximum allowable level of paprika, which is 700 SHU. Preparation. So in a bowl, you mix flour, 1 tablespoon of paprika, and half a teaspoon of salt. 1 tablespoon of paprika and a half a teaspoon of salt. Sorry, I think I said teaspoon for paprika instead of tablespoon. If not, ignore it. Sprinkle over the beef and toss to coat and shake off the excess. For this step, I did the first part, but I did not sprinkle it over the beef. I decided to cut the beef into little cube-like chunks and then put it in the bowl, toss it up a little bit. Don't get too much of the mixture on it, but still get enough on there so that there'd be flavoring. Then shake off the excess. In a Dutch oven, which I did not have access to, I used a frying pan instead. Heat 1 tablespoon of oil over medium heat. Brown the beef in batches, which I probably did maybe 10 to 20 pieces of the cubed chunks of beef as a batch, so it probably took 4 or 5 batches to cook. There was a lot of meat. Then adding the remaining oil as needed. Remove from the pan with a slotted spoon, and then reserving the drippings in the pan. There wasn't many drippings left in the pan, so when the later steps came along, I just added a little bit more oil to more flavor, so it also didn't burn to the pan. Alright. Add onion and pepper to the drippings, which was just oil mixed with a bit of paprika and salt. Maybe the tiniest pinch of flour too. Cook and stir for 4 minutes or until tender. I did this on a lower setting, so it took a little bit longer. Then you stir. I still used a frying pan for this, so I poured tomato sauce, tomatoes, broth, and some more, the remaining 1 tablespoon of paprika and 3/4 teaspoon of salt into the frying pan, and then bring it to a boil, reduce heat, let it simmer. While covered, I didn't have a lid to cover it for long enough, or big enough for it, so I just kind of let it simmer there for a bit while still constantly mixing it until beef is tender, which would normally take 1.5 to 2 hours. It took less time than that, but the preparation time, which was supposed to be 15 minutes, took more 45 minutes to an hour to prepare everything, which was a little off on the website. But then you cook the noodles according to the package directions. I had a bag and it didn't really give many directions, so I'm like, let's go with it. Once they are cooked, drain and then return them to the pot. Add butter to toss to coat. I did not add butter, but it still worked perfectly fine in the end. You serve with the stew. If desired, sprinkle with parsley. I put parsley with the tomato sauce, tomatoes, everything in the frying pan. Also, if you do want this recipe, if you look at the bottom of this slide, the website on there, absolutely delicious. Tasting. It had a mixture of sweet and saltiness. The beef adds a rough texture compared to the pasta and the tomato sauce, but it still worked very well. The dish was surprisingly unexpected. Like, let me rephrase that. The dish was unexpectedly delicious. Reason being why I had my hopes really down for this was because of some of the comments that were put on the website, which was like, it was okay, didn't really like the bland flavoring of it, or like, don't want to try this again, I can find better recipes for this and elsewhere. So part of it for me was I followed the directions. I also added more flavoring where it was needed, and it worked. It worked really well. The beef, as it was cooking, for some reason it looked and smelled very similar to like teriyaki beef that they would serve in a Chinese fast food restaurant. But like once you started like eating it, tasting it, everything, it didn't taste like that at all. So, here's some of the preparation photos. The first one on the left is where we were cooking our first batch of the beef. Also, it is boneless chuck beef, if you ever want to go look for it. On the right, it shows all the ingredients and like part of the preparation. The bowl that you see that's cut off a bit is the mix of flour, paprika, and salt. The left, I was cooking with a friend or two, and they were helping me along with this. So as I was taking pictures, he was constantly helping mix up the red sauce, keep it going, keep it warm. The front small pot on the left, that's where the meat was, like on a simmer, on a warm setting. The one in the back is water trying to get ready to be boiled for the noodles. The image on the left, little backstory thing, I had so much other work to do, so this was a very quick clean up, had to be somewhere else. So I decided to put the food, once it was all done, in a big container and then take it to my studio, which, since I'm majoring in architecture, we went right back over to the architecture and art building, and I was wanting to see if anybody else would try some. So my friend who was helping me cook, he did try some. His brother tried some. And when I asked them, hey, how good is it? Or like, how did it taste? They were like, you gotta try it for yourself. They didn't even tell me anything else. And I'm like, okay, I will. It was amazing. I have to say that. So this was my friend's plate. I was trying to work on homework or like another assignment. So I'm like, hey, before you eat it, let me take a picture. So I did. I was really sleep deprived because I had previously pulled an all-nighter for this, and I was really goofy at the time I was writing this comparison page. So yeah. So Hungarian dishes almost always consist paprika, which adds a really good flavor to whatever dish you were having. But when I looked at it for the first time, it reminded me of like the fat noodle pasta, like the really wide noodles with red sauce and meatballs, so it looked like a good spaghetti dinner. Or this is when the goofiness kicked in, and I'm like, might as well make this a little funny. In my view, when I looked at this photo, I'm like, it looked like lasagna that fell off the plate and all on the floor and just fell apart, and then you put it back on the plate. But on a more serious note, it was very intriguing to get an insight on others' cultures and religions, foods, and more. Especially with Hungarian dishes mostly having paprika as one of their main spices. This is my reference page.